I lived with my grandma from 1998, when I was 8, to 2012, when I was 22. I moved in with her when my mom was hitting menopause. She had quit her job in 1994 and was becoming increasingly withdrawn from the real world. All she wanted to do was garden and work on this camp house we were building. My dad was supporting me, my mom, himself, and my half-brother, who was 13 years older than me, would have been 21 in 98. Mom and Dad would fight all the time, and Mom was trying to move me from our house to an unfinished camp that didn't have running water or electricity. I called Grandma crying because I was a scared 8-year-old, and she moved me in with her. My grandma was awesome and took really good care of me my whole life. My mom was always jealous, like to the point that she'd take my clothes and tell me they looked better on her. She's like this older a-hole sister that I have to deal with. Grandma has bought her a house that she let get taken away by the bank. The camp, 70 acres of land, that she sold for $22,000 when she and Dad divorced, and a couple of cars. Grandma put down $5,000 and I put down $4,000 on my car. She is taking care of both me and my mom really well. But Mom will not acknowledge that Grandma even bought her anything. She always just yells about, "I paid her back every penny," though she has been unemployed for 17 of the past 20 years. My half-brother, Jeffy, 36 male, is an addict. He is 36 years old and lives with our mom and his girlfriend, Allie, 21 female, in a FEMA trailer. It's a one-bedroom travel trailer meant to occupy one adult and 2 children temporarily, that she bought with the money when she sold the camp. Mom drives Jeffy and Allie to the methadone clinic every day without question. She is devoted to him. He is her baby still. Jeffy lived with me and Grandma in 2002 to 2003 when he was on probation for selling D. While he lived with us, he stole our TV, computer, DVD player, Grandma's car 2 times, causing me to miss school. Grandma drove me out of district to the same school I would have fed into because she was amazing and wonderful to me, and $800. I don't really have anything against him. I just don't want to be around him or his crap that he stirs up. He somehow avoided jail time 2 years ago when someone called in a meth lab on him, and they found 200 bindles of H, a couple of grams of booger sugar, and 6 pounds of P. If it weren't for Grandma, I wouldn't speak of that side of my family. Grandma was diagnosed with lung cancer around January 15th of this year, but was not sick until around February 1st. She has always been healthy. She goes to the doctors for checkups but never has anything wrong and hasn't even been hospitalized. I'm in college full-time and was working 30 hours a week on top of that. I could visit Grandma every day after class or before work and make sure she didn't need anything. When she started to get sick, I feel like my mom went in for the kill. Mom moved in and would not let me do anything for Grandma. She took Grandma's credit, debit cards, hid all her jewelry, and hid all of her paperwork. I had been paying Grandma's bills and doing her shopping for her for probably the past 6 months. She just kept trying to muscle me out of the death process. Grandma got really bad off the last couple of days before death. She had to use Depends and couldn't really walk on her own. If I would try to change her, Mom would shoo me out of the way and do it. If I would try to help her to the bathroom from the living room, Mom would shoo me out of the way and do it. I'm in school for nursing. It's not like I would do something wrong out of ignorance. I've changed adult diapers before. She just wanted to do everything. Grandma deeded the house to me, with life estate for herself, as soon as she found out she was sick. She has told me since probably around 2000 that the house is mine if I want it when I grow up. I've been the primary beneficiary on her life insurance since 2002. I always assumed she had a will. She's been very prepared to die. She bought her own mausoleum slot in the 70s and always thinks ahead. If she had a will, Mom has hidden it. The day when Grandma was dying, I had a few hours alone with her to talk to her, though she couldn't talk back, and take care of her. As soon as my mom came home, she began berating me in front of Grandma. "Mom, you know, Grandma had a change of heart last night. She told me everything should go to me." Jane: "I don't want to talk about this right now, Mom. Later." Mom: "You should at least give me half of your money and give Jeffy $5 to $10K. Jane: "Mom, I don't want to talk about this. Grandma has things set up the way she wants them. Jeffy has a problem and I can't risk it. Talk to me later about this." Mom: You selfish little crap. Why don't you love your brother? You don't think he deserves something for his grandma dying? Jane, I don't want to talk about this. I got up and left. I missed my last hour with my grandma because I could not handle being around my mom anymore. She died about an hour after I left. Mom called me and I came back over. She didn't know you had to call the paramedics or the funeral home, so I took care of the business half. She wailed the entire time about how she was the only child and how grandma's not my mom. When it was time for grandma to be taken to the funeral home, she didn't want her to go out in what she died in. She wouldn't let the paramedics or the funeral director help us change her either. She broke down wailing as soon as I got grandma's nightgown off of her, and she left me to do it myself, even though I didn't want to change her in the first place and made it very apparent. My dad came at just the right time and held her up while I changed her clothes. After sitting with my mom for a few hours, I went home. In the morning, we went to the funeral parlor to finish grandma's arrangements. My mom came in sweatpants and a ripped and bleach-stained t-shirt. Classy. As I have lived with grandma for the past 14 years, and she's been telling me exactly what she wants, at least once a year for those past 14 years, Mom had me do all the work here, which I was totally fine with. I set up her arrangements, requested 5 copies of the death certificate, and got a necklace that will house some of the cremated remains. I offered to get Mom a necklace or earrings, but she declined. At this point, I assumed I was supposed to be executor of grandma's estate. Mom had me put the funeral bill in my name. As soon as we went back to grandma's house, she was at it again, screaming at me that I'm selfish and a brat because I get the house and the insurance money, that she's going to take every item in the house and not let me have a single keepsake, that everything is rightfully hers because she is the child and I'm just the grandchild. Like grandma's wishes mean nothing. She screams and screams at me to the point that I break down crying and end up vomiting while trying to run to the bathroom. I ask her to leave if she's going to act this way, because I have things I need to do in my house. She storms off after taking Grandma's Xanax and Dilaudid from the cabinets. I finish up some things, feeding the cat and finalizing the obituary, and go home. I come back the next day, and she has ransacked the house. List of items removed: 60-inch LG plasma TV, 2003 Ford Taurus and title, all paperwork from FireSafe box, all china, 3 to 4 sets of dishes, 3 dozen precious moments, Blinko glassware, a shower curtain, what? The toilet paper, a Shark steam mop, and a cheap computer. Like I said earlier, she took all of Grandma's jewelry the moment she got sick. She didn't take anything that was really worth a ton. It was just the act itself that was devastating. Grandma had been dead less than 36 hours, and she has already grabbed everything worth value in the house. My dad and I changed the locks to protect the estate from further theft until we hit probate. She called the cops and refused to speak to me for almost a week after they told her what I did was not illegal. Yesterday, she finally called me. I've been sick with bronchitis for 6 days now and don't have much of a voice. I let her know that if she wants a screaming match, I don't want to talk to her. In our conversation, if you can call it that, she repeated the same thing she's been yelling since Grandma died. I'm the only child. Everything belongs to me. You're selfish and won't share with your brother. I'm going to contest your deed to the house. That's my mother's house, not yours. She apparently went to the funeral home and took all the copies of the death certificate that I will have to pay for and has been instated as administrator of the estate, since there is no will. I tried to explain that, as administrator, she needs to remove all of the items that are Grandma's from my house because I am going to move in ASAP. I have tried to explain that her job is to pay Grandma's final debts, not to take all the items of value and keep them. Mom found out that Grandma has left her $10,000, and she still is not satisfied. I will be getting $22,000 and the house, worth about $40,000. She is insisting that I pay Grandma's funeral bill and her home equity line of credit, instead of using the estate's assets to pay for it. Grandma has a home equity line of credit of $8,000 and a $3,000 funeral bill that I gladly would have paid with my insurance money had Mom not decided to take every item in the house as her own. I am not obligated in any way to pay these things. You'll still be $1,000 up on me after you pay everything off, was her thought. Yep, I'll be up $1,000, and have to buy a new washer, dryer, stove, refrigerator, and dishwasher, and no grandma to help me with anything for the rest of my life. Sounds legit. I guess my question is, what do I do here? I've got the locks changed so that nothing else leaves the house unless I am present, and she has listed it as an asset of Grandma's estate. Do I get a restraining order? She has been to the house multiple times trying to get in, and my neighbors have called the police or asked her what she is doing. She threatened to whoop my butt when I told her I would call the police because she was screaming at me and disrespecting me on my own property. This is recorded in my dad's voicemail. I called him because I was scared. She calls me screaming at me. She threatened to sue me for using her debit card. She bought me a time card for my phone last month when I had quit my job to help take care of Grandma, even though she said I could. She has threatened to not remove any items from the house and put them in storage so that I can't move in. She won't turn off the utilities to the house so that I can move in. She is threatening to move affairs along slowly so that I can't move into the house and have to continue paying rent for the next year, even though I have a completely paid-off house in my name. Am I an a-hole for not wanting to pay my grandmother's debts with my portion of the life insurance money? Is that wrong? Am I the bad guy because my grandma wanted to take care of me? I just don't even know anymore. I just don't want to have to be around her ever again. I haven't been able to grieve the loss of what has essentially been my mom, because my bio mom is too concerned with what she didn't get when her mom died. I failed to mention that my grandma's cat is still living in that house. I have to visit him daily and play with, care for him, until I can move in there because my apartment does not allow pets. The slower she is, the longer Bubby Kisses has to live alone in that house. I'm considering just getting a storage building and putting all of Grandma's assets in there so that I can move in now. I don't know what I'm doing. Only deal with your mother through a lawyer. Refuse to engage with her in any other way. She is trying to manipulate you, and you need to stand firm. Your grandma knew what she was doing when she left you these things. She wanted you to be strong and become the great person she knew you were capable of becoming. She believed in you. Now believe in yourself. My parents have been together for 24 years. When I was 8, my mom found out my dad had an affair, and it absolutely devastated her. She attempted S, and then either went to live somewhere else or was in some kind of psychiatric facility for a while. It was never made clear to me. She's a very emotionally fragile person and will sometimes sink into deep, months-long episodes of depression when something goes wrong. She doesn't trust therapists, so I've always been the person she turns to when she needs to vent. I've spent years of my life hearing about her problems, including her feelings about the affair and how it made her feel inadequate and ugly, and if he ever did it again, she would leave him or K herself. Yes, she said this to me when I was a child. Yes, I'm now in therapy. Yesterday, I saw my dad in the outdoor seating area of a restaurant with a lady and some little boy. The boy looks really similar to how my dad used to look in photos of him as a kid. Like, they're both redheads, both have a lot of freckles, really similar face shape. I asked him about it later, and he said the lady was a relative, but he looked so awkward and guilty when I asked, and he couldn't tell me how they were related, so I didn't believe him. I kept pushing it, and he admitted the boy was his son, and was a result of the affair he had 12 years ago. I said I didn't believe that kid was anywhere near 12, and my dad finally admitted he'd had another affair when I was 11. He asked me not to tell my mom, and I said I'd consider not telling her if he was honest with me about whether he'd had any other affairs and whether any of them produced children. He said he had, and he did have 2 other kids, a boy when I was 3 and a girl when I was 4. He said the affair when I was 11 was his last, and he's really sorry about it. I'm not sure how much I believe that. I believe if you have affairs for 8 years, you probably don't stop having affairs, especially if you continue after you were found out. This morning, my dad offered me money not to tell my mom, because it would hurt her too much to find out. I truly don't know what to do. My mom is still an emotional wreck, and I don't want to risk her mental health again, but I think she deserves to know, especially if I'm right in thinking he's probably lying about his affairs ending 9 years ago. Both your parents are making this incredibly hard for you. Your dad is asking you to keep a massive secret. Your mom has improperly made you the keeper of her mental well-being. If you're still in therapy, I'd make it a priority to talk this through with your therapist. If you're not, maybe make a new appointment. Never mind your parents. You need help to process this new information about your dad and your surprise half-siblings. But a therapist can also help you work through the question of whether to tell your mom. Threatening S is a wildly manipulative thing to do. It's hard when you have a mental health issue to understand how manipulative you're being. So I'm not blaming your mom here. This may not really be in her power to control. But the effect on the people around her is the same. You walk on eggshells because you're scared of what she'll do. This isn't healthy. Her mental stability isn't your responsibility. If you're fulfilling the normal human duty to be kind and generous to each other, you're doing all you need to. Her decisions, however harmful, aren't controlled by you, and you don't have to be a hostage to them.